Hey there guys, how's it going? Today we will be looking at two of my latest creations, the German Panzer IV and the American M4 Sherman. Now just before we move on, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, as well as comment on what you want to see next. Now with that out of the way, let's take a closer look at these builds. First up, we have the Panzer IV Aus D. Now, as many of you may already know, this tank was used by Nazi Germany during World War II and started production in the 30s and was in service by the Germans all the way until 1945. Well, firstly, let's take a look at the front. Now, right here, you'll see that there's a little machine gun emplacement there, and it's created by one of those like lever or antenna pieces, and it can move up and down, just like that. And I also put some of these cheese wedge pieces here to give it some sloping or angling. And then moving on to the side, you'll find there's I've got a few of these brown pieces here on both sides. They're meant to replicate like spare parts and like packaging and stuff, which would be found on some of these tanks. And then I also have an antenna here so that the tank can communicate with the other tanks of its unit. At the back, there's not really much there, just a bit of brown piece there to add some more design. Same with on the other side. Now taking a look at the turret, you'll find that, like I said, it has the short 75mm gun for its main armament, but you can also swap it out for this longer one to make it a Panzer IV Aus F2, which this one would be more suited for taking out enemy vehicles and tanks, whereas the short one was used earlier in the war. It was mainly for destroying bunkers and machine gun nests. Now, of course, the gun can move that high, move up and down, and the turret can also swivel 360 degrees. With the long barreled on, it gets stuck right at the antenna, but can move everywhere else. But if you have the short barrel on, it can do a full 360. Now on the sides of the turret, I have some angled and sloped armor plating, which would be accurate to the real tank. And yeah, not really a ton to the turret. I just try to get it as accurate as possible to any source material that I could find. Yeah. Oh, and also the hatch on top is accurate to how the real tank would open. So these two flip pieces, there's one on each side, and they both open up like that. And then you can take your driver here, or commander, I'm not sure who it would be that sits in the turret. So you can sit him down in there. Just like that. Now, if you take him out, you'll find that I have a bit of a strange way for seating the minifigure. Now that's because I had to put some jumper plates down on the bottom for him to sit on, because the this part where he sits, it's only 3 studs wide, whereas the rest of the turret is 4 studs wide. So I had to do that to make sure that he could sit in properly. Now finally, let's take a look at the tracks. Now you might have already noticed that I don't use the actual Lego tread system. I used a bunch of the Technic beams for the tracks. Now this is because I don't have any of the thin official Lego tracks, and I used up all of my wide ones on my T34, link to that video in the top right hand corner. So I decided to use these Technic bars, and I think that they work pretty well. They still got the right shape to it, and they look enough like treads. It's also good if like me, you don't have many official Lego treads, but you do have a bunch of these black Technic beams lying around and you want to make tanks. This is a great alternative. Next up, let's take a look at this M4a1 Sherman. Now again, most of you probably know that the M4 Sherman was a medium tank designed by the Americans during World War II, and it saw use in just about every theater of the war. So to get started with this build, let's take a look at the front. Now you'll see that it is fairly rounded and sloped off, and there's also this machine gun emplacement right there, but unlike the one on the Panzer, it does not swivel, but it still looks pretty good, I'd say. Now moving down the side, you'll see that the armor plating is slightly angled and sloped, moving downwards. And then at the back, this whole section is it's just attached with one of these pieces to give it that nice angled look. And I also have an antenna right here, a spare shovel right there to clear out any snow or mud that might be in the way, and some more of these brown packaging things there. Again, I'm not quite sure what they are. They might be sandbags, I'm not sure, but on most of the designs that I looked at, they all had some of those like randomly spaced around the build. Now taking a look at the turret, you'll find that it has its 75mm gun up here, and it can move up and down. The turret can also rotate around 360 degrees like that, so it can target any enemy vehicles. Now I made sure that the turret was all rounded off, which was one of the distinct features of the M4a1, which is why it's all nice and smooth around the edges, and the hatch at the top opens up, so you can take your driver minifigure and sit him down in there. And I think it looks pretty good like that. Now for this seating arrangement, I just used one of those pieces there that it's not super new, but it's newer, and it's just it goes in between the minifigure's legs to keep it in place, and it works pretty well. You can shut the hatch, and then like the Panzer IV, it uses the same track system with just the Technic beams. However, because the Sherman had it had fairly thin tracks, The tracks are only a thickness of 1 beam instead of the Panzer IV, which has a thickness of 2 beams. Like that. Well, that is the Sherman. Well guys, thanks so much for watching. These are small enough models that if you really wanted a tutorial on them, I think I could do that. So don't hesitate to tell me in the comments. Now also, you might remember this from my last video, but I recently released a new stop motion animation on my main channel, which you can check out in the top right corner. It is a World War II stop motion, so if you enjoyed this video, you would probably enjoy that one as well. So don't hesitate to watch that. Well, that's all for today. Thanks so much guys for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment down below what you want to see next. And I'll see you next time.